dog control policy and bylaw. And we are up to our next submitter, Ms. Clark. Do we have success?
I think so. Submitter 3106, Krista Cray on page 487.
Thank you. Ms. Cray, now if you could take yourself off mute, that would be lovely.
No, you didn't.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Can you?
We can hear you. We can see you. We have.
Wonderful.
I know. Thank you for persevering. Now we've read your submission. I do want to check that you did say you wanted to be represented by your lawyer, but you subsequently clearly withdrew that. So you're now submitting on your own behalf.
Oh yes, I'm
Correct.
submitting on my behalf.
Okay.
Yes, that's
Okay.
right.
That's fine. So we have read your submission, and if you want to just go through the highlights of that, the next 10 minutes are all yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, to speed things up, I have made some more notes so
Lovely.
that I don't waste your time, and I'll just read them off. Now, since you've read my submission, you are aware my main concern is the numbers game. It never works. You don't restrict numbers of cows or sheep that farmers keep on a square acre of land just because a few farmers have been guilty of neglect. You don't tell people how many children they are allowed to have because a few have produced criminals. Each case has to be dealt with individually, not by a one-size-fits-all law. There can be bad dog owners, whether they have 2 or 20 dogs. So restricting numbers does not mean you can dismiss the ranger and save his wages. On the contrary, to police the proposed bylaw, more rangers may be needed to cover the rural areas with high petrol costs. I have seen the big deficit on your list of outgoings, but that would include other animals the rangers deal with, I would imagine, because I have seen goats, sheep, roosters, cats, even a kunekune pig in the pound. So there should be a breakdown of what actually has been used for dogs. Now, the other thing is, with less numbers of registration fees, the income of the council would fall even further, and it might then be necessary to increase registration fees. Not a popular move, since many people clearly struggle to make ends meet in this COVID situation, and many turn to their pets for reducing their stress levels. So it looks like you are punishing the many because of a bad conduct of a few. It's like banning cars from roads because there are some bad or even reckless drivers. The other thing that I noticed is the vagueness in the proposal where it says exemptions will be made, mentioning farm dogs only, for example. There should be a clear and explicit list of all possible exemptions if the bylaw goes ahead. Otherwise, who will decide where and whom to grant exemptions to? Would you have a council meeting every time an exemption other than for farm dogs is asked for? Or what guidelines would you follow? That's my lot.
Well, thank you. And firstly, can I thank you for that? And can I say it is never a waste of our time listening to submitters. So please don't feel that. But thank you for keeping it short and sweet. And I am not sure that anybody has any questions for you at this point. No, I think you've made your points very clearly, and thank you very much for doing so. Thank you also for persevering and getting online.
Oh, that was great. Yeah, I wanted to be heard, and thank you for hearing me.
And indeed you were. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Clark, where
Next submitter is 3002 Waikato Gundog Club on page 202.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Ms. Sanson. You were sitting in the where I wasn't expecting you. Welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. And you are speaking on behalf of the Waikato Gundog Club. Yes? Ms. Sanson, can you hear me?
Can anybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear us? I'm sorry, Ms. Sanson. We can hear you. I just need you to confirm that you can hear us.
She's also got her YouTube on the background again.
I am indeed. Yes, correct.
Can we have the YouTube off because it's giving feedback and we
Is
can't?
that okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Ms.
Hold on.
Sanson.
Hello, hello.
Okay, I think you Matt, can you message Ms. Sanson?
Can you?
We can hear you. It just appears that you cannot hear us. So perhaps turn your audio up.
I can hear you.
Madam Chair.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, well, that's fine. I can hear you.
Point of order, Madam Chair. The speaker has got her YouTube on in the background and it's causing problems with us being able to hear her. So would I respect
Yes.
I can't, you're all yelling at me and I can't hear what's going on. You're all yelling at me.
Ms. Sanson, please could you turn your YouTube off because your feed, it would appear that your feed is interfering with your audio.
Is that better?
I believe so, yes. Right, so did you hear the introduction?
No, because everybody was yelling at me.
No, I was making the introduction on my own. Let me do it again for you. I'm just confirming that you're speaking for the Waikato Gundog Club, that we have read your submission and that you have 10 minutes to make any salient points you want us to hear.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Helen Sanson. I am the secretary of Waikato Gundog Club. It's a little bit of background about the club. Waikato Gundog Club has been running as a club since 1976. We currently carry around 30 to 40 members. We, as a club, are affiliated to Dogs New Zealand and to the New Zealand Gundog Trial Association, which administrates Gundog trials on behalf of Dogs New Zealand. I'm speaking today on behalf of our members. Our club acts, it runs trials, Gundog trials. It also runs a quota of Gundog shows each year, and also acts as a training resource for owners of Gundogs, both to train both for trials, and not all of our members are hunters. As far as Gundog clubs Gundogs are concerned, they are generally used for hunting of birds, waterfowl, and in the case of spaniels, rabbits. Some of our members also hunt deer with their Gundogs. Our members are decent people who I'm grateful to spend time with. Many of our members live in rural areas in order to have suitable places to keep multiple dogs. and space to train them, which is very important with high drive hunting type dogs. Some rely on access to public land and facilities in order to train their dogs. These dogs, I can't emphasize enough, need plenty of off-lead exercise. They need to be socialized. They need to be safe in public areas. And the majority are very well trained. And that is what our club stands to help our members with, is the training. Good, spacious off-lead dog exercise areas will help with this. If dog owners have good designated areas to use, they will not need to use sport fields, even the margins of. So if good areas, spacious areas are designated, that owners such as our members have somewhere to go where they're not having to run their dogs in close proximity with other members of the public, then it solves a whole load of problems. We as a club oppose the restriction of off-lead dog exercise areas in the Waikato district. The permit limiting dog ownership to 2 dogs per property in the rural district is problematic. It has caused huge amounts of concern amongst our members. As I've previously expressed, some people, a great number of our members, in fact, have moved to rural areas in order to keep their dogs and to exercise them sufficiently. We've already heard this from a great number of other submitters, so I'm not going to harp on about it. But we don't believe that limiting the number of dogs per property in the rural district is going to solve the problems that were expressed by animal control at the initial meeting at Ngaruawahia, which I attended. It's not going to solve aggressive dogs. It's not going to solve unregistered dogs. And it's not going to solve nuisance or owners who neglect their animals or mistreat them. It completely mystifies a great number of us as to how animal control propose that these permits are going to help. Additionally, making already compliant, responsible owners undergo yet more regulation is not going to have a positive effect. Our members, many of our members, I will use me as an example. I register my dogs. I pay the council fees every year. I'm a selected owner and underwent an inspection some years ago in order to take a small discount on my registration fees. The selected owner status has not been mentioned in this whole process. My dogs are registered pedigree dogs. They're registered with Dogs New Zealand. I pay a subscription to Dogs New Zealand each year. I pay a subscription to our club to belong to our club each year. And as touched upon by the Pig Hunting Association representative Gary this morning, perhaps club ownership and ownership of registered dogs could please have some kind of recognition. It's been identified Matamata and Piako District Council have several allowances for owners who show that they are committed and interested in their dogs, whether they use them for sport or showing or what, by belonging to registered clubs Most of these clubs are affiliated to Dogs New Zealand status there. His Worship the Mayor yesterday reminded the submitter that animal control is subsidised by thousands of dollars. So this permit to us just seems like a very expensive census, for want of another word. And council already has the records of the registered dogs. You already know how many dogs are out there that are registered. And the unregistered ones aren't going to apply for a permit any more than they're intending to register their dogs. So to wind up, surely it will be more productive to find better ways of targeting the actual issues of problems, rather than making the compliant dog owners jump through yet more hoops. It seems, yeah. I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you. And just one quick one from me. I don't think I heard you say that you're looking for. Are you looking for? You're looking for more dog areas. Were you saying that you're looking for more gun dog specific areas as well, so that they weren't in with the other dogs?
No, not specific. No, just if areas, an area the size of a tennis court is just not sufficient to exercise large dogs in. Right. And it's going to throw, the smaller the area, the more it throws dogs and owners closer together, which is yeah.
Are there any other questions for the submitter? No, it would appear not. Thank you very much for taking the time to put your submission in. We appreciate that. Thank you. Ms. Clark.
Yep, so we're skipping forward a bit just because the next submitter has pulled out. So we're moving on to submitter 2562, Peter Gunther, on page 283.
Thank you. Hello, Mr. Gunther. If you want to unmute yourself, that would be great.
Good morning.
Hello and welcome again. Seems like only last week we saw you.
Yes, we did, but it's like
yes, indeed. Look, we've read your, same as last week, we've read your submission. You've got 10 minutes to give us your highlights on it. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, I'll just basically going to the proposal. And here it says the proposal of the bylaws to support and give effect to the council's dog controllers. The objective of the policy is to enable people to enjoy the benefits of dog ownership. My objection is of limiting the rural people to 2 dogs, mainly because your thing is that there's 150. You guys said on your thing why you wanted limited. There were 155. I just want to get the information here correct. So there were 155 dogs that were found in poor health out of the 58 complaints of multiple dogs in the rural area. I understand that wasn't all the complaints in the rural area when I spoke to the chief dog controller, but if you look at that over the 5 years, that's 12 every year and 31 dogs that were in poor health. And I asked for the numbers for that same 5 period of everything, and that worked. Out of that, there was like 289 and 542. So the numbers compared to urban and rural is a vast difference. And now you want to punish all the rural people for a small majority of people in the rural area that are misusing their dogs. Just give them heftier fines. So it's a small percentage of people in the rural area that are misusing. And no matter how many dogs, if you even allow us to have 1 dog, those people will continue misusing the children, their dogs, no matter what. Just like I said last week with the speeding laws. So they will continue to do abuse to the children. then most rural dog owners don't need dog parks. We don't have the extra burden on the council for such uses. We don't have nuisances of our dogs being barking and causing disturbances with our neighbors like the urban people do. Most of our rural dogs are well behaved and controlled, or at least ours are. And we see ours, I've always seen our dogs as our children or part of the family. We also have look after our dogs like they are children. Limiting them to 2 is like saying to a family, sorry, you're not allowed to have more than 1 child. I've always had furry pets, children around, except when I came to New Zealand, because I lived in a big urban areas. I decided not to have them until I moved to a rural area, and that's when I decided to get them again. They're great companions. So we first started with 2, and then they had pups. Unfortunately, one of the pups died, and when we found out that the other 3 pups had genetic defects, we kept those 3. We didn't want to release them to anybody else. 2 of them have got receding jawlines, and the other one we thought would be a bit unfair. She didn't look too well, and just as well, she turned out to have a heart condition, and she cost us $300 a month in medication. Most people would have probably just gone and got the dogs put down, but we decided to keep all 3 of their children, and they've turned out to be extremely very good to us. You see how you're going to exclude working dogs, and when I ask people what is working dog, oh no, it chases cattle around the farm, etc. I see our dogs as working dogs in the fact that they not only comfort the 3 older ladies, 2 of them are mentally handicapped in the house, in the main house, and mom, who's 87 now, I think this year, as well as they are our guard dogs. They let us know when people are on the property. They let us know when there's stuff that's not supposed to be on the property, but yet you don't include them as working dogs. So yes, if I had geese or donkeys as guard dogs or guards, would they be excluded as working animals? And yep, I think that's about it as far as my submission is for thing of the 2 dog owners for the rural areas. The rural people, most rural people look after their dogs. Our dogs sleep inside. They've got 5 acres to run around on. I've had the dog control guys come here to have a look at their pens that I keep them in during the day. Now that I stay permanently here, they normally come in and out the house when they want to. I leave the doors open. I try to keep them in areas where they are comfortable all the time. So yes, and now you guys want to restrict people to having 2 dogs as in the city. My one exercise area for our dogs where they are is bigger than most people's backyards. Most people in the urban area don't even keep their dogs in the house. They leave them outside in small confined places, and then have to take the dog to a dog training exercise area, which is also then funded through the dog licenses. So that's my submission on it, and I don't understand why you want to punish the good for the bad that's been happening.
Are you happy to take questions, Mr. Gundog?
Yes, you're welcome to ask.
Thank you. I have a comment, but I'll save it for later. Councillor Church.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, Mr. Gunter, I was interested about you talking about your puppies that were born with the genetic defects and that you've had the humanity to look after them. I guess my question is, so when they grow up and maybe have more puppies, so you have more babies, and more children, or have other dogs that have puppies, I guess I'm asking you, is there a limit if you're not a breeder to that intergenerational family of dogs to have on a rural property, say like yours?
Well,
so just kind of understanding, because you really brought up a point of interest to me around,
well,
dogs having puppies.
Ours have all been, I only wanted to have our female to have 1 litter because I'm of the belief that the bitch should have 1 litter before you desex her or spay her or sterilize her. So that's what I did. We let her have that 1 litter, and that's it. They've all been sterilized, bar little Sasha, who can't be sterilized because of her heart condition. So as soon as I could, I had all the boys sterilized and Sheba sterilized last. So yes, all our dogs have been sterilized. I always have ever since I've been a little kid, we've always had our dogs desexed. I don't believe in breeding dogs just for the fact of breeding. I find that dog breeders in this country are extremely cruel. I've known a few of them, even in, not all dog breeders, but I know lots of dog breeders are extremely cruel to dogs. And so I don't practice that kind of thing. That they don't see the dog as a member of the family, they see it as a dollar sign.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gunter, just clarifying a point in your submission, you talked about emergency vehicles and their sirens, and I must say I do have some sympathy with that, and dogs seem to love to help the emergency vehicles along. That would be something that you would perhaps want to follow through with Fire and Emergency New Zealand, who are quite separate to the council. I really don't know the technicalities of fire sirens or ambulance sirens or even voluntary sirens. So that may be an area you want to follow through. Are there any other questions for Mr. Gunter? It doesn't appear so. So thank you again for taking time to submit. We do appreciate that you do that. And the points will be raised in our deliberations. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for giving me the chance. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you, you too. Ms. Clark, do we have the next submitter?
No, we've just been notified that submitter 2398 Jenny Rutherford will not be able to make it, as she is working at the hospital and they've been overwhelmed with COVID, so she won't be able to make it.
Okay, and possibly we can fit her in tomorrow if that's going to work better for her.
Yep. And we've tried contacting the next submitter for the SPCA, but we can't get a hold of her either. Okay, so we're now at 20 past 11. So can I please suggest that we come back at 20 to 12 and just take a short rest break?